Hello and peace to the tribe. I'm New Diamonds here with a Moana 2 decoding and review. I hope everyone out there is doing well. And yes, let's jump right on into it. This was such a beautiful movie. I really enjoyed it. I took my kids to see it and I ended up enjoying it so much that I was like, you know what? I have to do a decoding. There was a lot of symbolism in it, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of astrology, a lot of ancestral things, a lot of spiritual things. So I was like, you know what? It's only right that I do a decoding and a review and a breakdown on this beautiful movie, okay? So Moana 2, obviously was a sequel to the first one, Moana, where she is chosen to just be this leader and this voyager of finding a new way, finding herself and listening to her spirit. Which I thought was pretty beautiful, really tapping into the way how the ancestors used to travel and tune into themselves as they didn't have, the things that we have today. So that's one thing that I really admired from this movie, was just really tapping into the tribal aspect, the ancestor aspect of it. And Moana means, the water, the way of the water. And that was one thing. She was chosen by the water to fulfill her destiny, fulfill the way of the ancestors. And in Moana 2, it starts off with her dream. I'm gonna look at my notes. It starts with her dreaming about connected to more tribes and just really getting more in tune with the collective, with the whole aspect of the community and uniting everyone. And I thought that was pretty interesting as we are leaving this age of, this Piscean age, this belief, this old system, and tapping into this new Aquarian age, this I know. And Aquarius energy is all about the tribe, the community, hopes, wishes, dreams of the future, and technology. We are the technology. And I feel like that was a really big thing in this movie, where she was listening to her inner technology, her subconscious, her intuition, her spirit, to guide her through this whole movie. As she's dreaming, the ancestors tell her, follow the stars will help you lead the way, and finding, more tribes. And she wakes up. When she wakes up, she is on the boat, and she's like, oh, I was dreaming the whole time. So she's on her way back from her trip. Like I said, from the first Moana, where she was getting the heart of Tafiti, she had to travel back home. So on her way back home, she was dreaming. She awakened. She's arriving home. When she gets home, her family greets her. Her sister greets her. Everyone's just super excited, like, oh my goodness, Moana, you did it. You are, the chosen one. You did go beyond the reef, and you were successful. So they have this big ceremony for her. And as they're doing the ceremony, she kind of, I will say, has this vision, okay? But it's a storm that is coming in, and it surrounds the whole island. And as it's storming, it's thundering and lightning. The lightning comes in, and it electrocutes her. And as she is electrocuted, she goes into this dream-like state again. And the ancestors are like, we need you to lead the way. We need you to find the other tribes. If you don't leave again, you're going to basically be stuck here on this island, and that's going to be your legacy. You're never going to leave this island, and your legacy will die here with you, and all of our legacies will die here with you. So you need to connect with these other tribes to unite everyone. And as she awakens, her family is like, what's going on? She's like, I need to find she says the name of the tribe. She's like, I need to find Mo Ta Ta Ta, or I can't remember the name, but she was like, I need to find the other tribes. There's more tribes out there. And her mom and her dad are like, okay, like, we know you the chosen one, but you just got back from mission. She's like, no, if I don't, we're gonna, our legacy will just die here. As this is happening, everybody rushes outside. As they're rushing outside, there's a huge shooting star that is going over their island. And she was like, the ancestors said that they were going to show me a shooting star to lead the way. And I thought that was pretty interesting because we just had a huge comet or shooting star that lit up the whole sky, and it was going towards the west. Okay. What was the name of the star? It was called Tattoo Mala something. I can't remember, but it was a huge comet that went over the United States, and it also went towards the sun, which I thought was pretty interesting. She was like, okay, I have to leave. I have to go find this new star. They're like, how will you know? She was like, the ancestors said they were going to help me find the way. They're guiding me, and I'm going to continue to listen to them. So, as she, she's packing up her things, her mom's like, well, you know what? If you leave, you can't go by yourself this time. I don't feel comfortable with you going by yourself. You have to take, a tribe with you. So she was like, okay, I'm going to gather up some people so I won't be alone this time on my journey. And so she going throughout the tribe, and she's like, okay, I need the best builder just in case my boat, messes up. We can reconstruct the boat. So she picks the best builder. She's like, I also need a storyteller, someone who understands the arts. So if we see certain signs, they can decode them. So she grabs one of the best artists on their island. And then she was like, well, this might be a long journey if I'm trying to find this lost island, to find this tribe of people. So she gathers up a farmer, one of the elders, and which I thought was pretty funny because it's like they all have mastered themselves. They all were a master of their own craft, being their own unique self, which is another Aquarian thing, being your unique self and valuing that and knowing that whatever you master, you can accomplish. It will have great value of you in the future, even if you may not think so at the time. You may be needed for a tribe, or you may be needed for the community to help this bigger mission. Okay, so I thought that was pretty funny. So soon as she's getting ready to set sail, she's like, okay, well, I have to find the sign of the stars. And one thing with the first Moana was she was following the hook star, which is the Scorpion Aquarian constellation. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And this time it was like a 3. So it was like 3 dots, but they will make it look like 2 mountains, 2 waves. And I thought that was pretty interesting because when I looked at the constellation, it looks like the Aquarius constellation. And not only was it the Aquarius constellation, when they would turn it sideways, it would look like the Aquarius sign, the wave. So I was like, oh yeah, this is most definitely about the age of Aquarius. We are in Sagittarius season, so that's all about going in the right direction, to basically guide you on the right path to the future. So it's kind of like doing that shadow work, doing that internal work, being tested in the Scorpio season to head in the right place in Sagittarius season. And once you master that, there will be things that will come to you, like the tribe gathering in Aquarius season, because it's all about community. It's all about the tribe. It's all about union. It's all about unity, because one mind is good, but 4 minds are better. 2 hands are good, but 8 hands are better if we're working together as a collective. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So the star looks like a wave. The star looks like the 3 constellation, and they're following that. As they get closer, they're still following the shooting star. It pans to Maui. Okay, now Maui, we all know he is a demigod. He was this great superhero in the first movie who helped her along her journey. It pans to him, and he is tied up. Okay, he's tied up, bound, and he's hanging from his hook. And it's this deity, like, you're stuck. Moana isn't going to come for you. And he's like, what are you talking about? I don't need Moana. I'm a demigod. I can do it by myself. And, I'm going to get out of this. Don't worry about it. I'm not even worried about you. He's very egotistical, very confident, very sure of himself. So he's like, you know what? I don't even need Moana. I can do it. No worries, right? So I took that as sometimes along our journeys, spirit won't be there for us. Our guides won't be there for us. And we kind of have to go on this journey, go on this voyage by ourselves. It's this sense of knowing who you are. And when you know who you are, the spirits, they have to let go of the training wheels and you kind of have to lead your own way. And that's exactly what was going on in the movie. She had to find herself. She was calling for Maui. Maui wasn't coming. She was like, okay, maybe he's just taking a vacation, because we did just, we had a very long journey, finding the heart of Tafiti and beating, returning the heart of Tafiti. She didn't necessarily beat her up. So she was like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to continue to do this journey on my own. I got my tribe with me. They're going to help me out. So they get to the middle of the ocean. After it pans from him, they're in the middle of the ocean, and the shooting star that she was following explodes. And she's like, okay. So she goes to the water. She's like, water, I know, that star was the only thing guiding me. Ancestors, that was the only thing guiding me. And now I don't have that star anymore. And the water isn't communicating with her. She's like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll figure it out. So she comes back up. She's talking to her tribe. They're like, okay, Moana, so what to do now? In the midst of that, it's this huge ship coming up. They're like, okay, maybe we made it. We just getting a little closer. Maybe we made it. They get a little closer. It's a ship. It's not the mountain. They're like, okay. They look. It's a whole bunch of little coconuts trying to attack them. And they're like, oh no, it's pirates. It's coconut pirates. What are we going to do? They were afraid. They were trying to leave. But as they're trying to leave, they get pulled into a current. They get pulled into some energy that they have no control over. And as they're leading up to the current, it's this giant clam. And this giant clam, it's eating things. Boom, it's closing, it's opening, boom, closing. So they're like, oh man, we got to get out of this current. This current is being pulled in by this giant clam. It's going to eat us. We got to do something about it. So the coconuts, they started to attack Moana. They hit Moana with like this numbing stuff. They shoot these darts at Moana because they were fighting and they were numb. So they're like, okay, we obviously need you guys. How do we get out of here? And at the time, they didn't understand them because they were speaking a whole nother different language. And so they started to show pictures. And this is where one of their tribe members came in handy, because he's an artist. So he understands decoding. And he's like, oh, they're just talking about an island. And they're like, what? Like, you can understand what they're saying? They're like, oh yeah. So then the little coconuts, they start doing translate. He's like, oh, they're just talking about this and they're looking for an island. And then Moana's like, wait, are they looking for the same island that we're looking for? And they did translation, and then they looked at their sail, and their sail was the same two islands, the same two waves that they were looking for. And they were like, wow, okay, so we need to work together. We need to put aside our differences so we can work together, so we can get to this island, because we're looking for the same thing. And so they're like, okay, we're gonna work together. Moana's like, first you need to unnumb us. We can't even move a muscle. How are we going to defeat this clam and get to the island if we can't even move? So they bring out this monster, and this monster like was slimy and nasty, and it just glided over them with all of its slime. And they immediately were rejuvenated, or back to moving their limbs again. And they were like, wow, that's nasty, but that's kind of cool. And as they were eating the slime, they was like, oh, it tastes like coconuts. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And they were like, well, how did you guys get the numbing medicine anyway to numb everybody? And as soon as they said that, the giant slug thing sneezed, and he sneezed on a whole bunch of coconuts, and all the coconuts went numb. And she was like, interesting. The same thing that hurts you is the same thing that cures you. And I was like, wow, that's a big message. You know, when it comes to healing, the medicine is sometimes what's hurting. You know, sometimes you have to do that shadow work to heal yourself. Instead of numbing yourself, feel that pain, cure yourself. So you are the cure, you are the answer, you are the healer in a sense. And I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. So they heal themselves, they're getting closer to this clam. They're like, okay, maybe we can numb the clam. So the clam will stop opening and closing, or pull us in. So the coconuts are like, okay, let's do it. So they get closer to the middle of the clam. They ended up losing the medicine. The coconut comes in. He ends up dropping the sword. Okay. So they're like, oh no, what are we going to do now? And the one of the other coconuts come in, shoots the clam right in the middle, and then the clam closes. As the clam closes, it pulls everyone down, and they're like, oh man, like what are we gonna do? We're getting sucked into the bottom of the ocean. And then they just basically just had to surrender to them going down to the bottom of the ocean. Okay. As they're getting pulled down to the bottom of the ocean, they get split up. So Moana goes off to one side, and then the other three tribe members, they go off to a whole nother side. They get sucked down, pulled down even deeper layers to the bottom of the ocean, inside the clam. And then they finally land in a certain part of the clam. And the place that they land at, Maui's like, oh, I knew Moana was gonna come and save me. Like, and then they're like, we're not Moana. Like, what are you doing here, Maui? And then he's like, oh, I'm good. You know, I'm not tied up. I'm not, I don't need anybody's help. And they're like, no, you obviously need our help. So they unhook him because he's tied up. They save him. And they're like, okay, so now we got to find Moana. And it pans off to Moana, and Moana's just on her boat by herself. She's on like a piece of wood by herself, and she's afraid, she's frightened. She's like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here. She sees a light at the top, so she's like, okay, I have to get to the top. So let me keep climbing to the top. Let me keep climbing to the top. She keeps falling, she keeps failing. She can't get to the top. So then it's like this little voice that comes out of nowhere, this bat lady, and she's like, sometimes you don't know the way. As a pathfinder, you don't always know the way. How did you get here? And Moana's like, I don't know. And then the lady's like, exactly. And then Moana's like, what are you talking about? It's basically like a metaphor. Like, sometimes to get where you're going, you don't know. You just kind of have to let your spirit guide you, follow your spirit in a sense. And she was like, yeah, sometimes you just got to get lost. That's the way. You never really know where you're going till you get there. And you learn a lot of different things on your journey on the way there. And Mama was like, I'm not about to get lost. I'm trying to get out this clam. I'm trying to get out of there. Like, and she's like, it's another way. Sometimes you have to be open to different ways in order to find your way out. She was like, you thinking the only way out is up. Moana and her, they started singing, they started dancing. She was like, you just got to get lost. You got to trust spirit and just know that there's another way for you. And so Moana's like, okay, like she just surrendered, and she deep dived into this like waterfall at the bottom of the clam. And when she deep dives into the bottom of the clam, she lands into this like rainbow bubble At least I thought it was a rainbow bubble. It was pretty interesting because, like I said, I went to take my kids there. And soon as she landed there, my daughter was like, Mommy, she's in a portal. And I'm like, what? She ain't in no portal. Like, she's in the bubble. And then when it panned out, it looked like a portal. And I was like, oh my goodness, Moana is in a portal. And then it dawned on me. She had to deep dive, go deep down into the hidden realms, kind of like deep diving into your subconscious to find another way out, to find the light. Sometimes you got to do that shadow work to heal yourself, to be the light in the dark. And as she's down at the bottom, she's like, okay, where am I? And the dark lady, she's talking to her. She's like, isn't this what you came here for? Isn't this where, you're being led to? Isn't this where your spirits were leading you to this whole time? And she started to look around, and then the smoke cleared, and she seen the island, the two islands that they were looking for this whole time. And so she's like, oh wow, this is the way to get to the island, the lost island where the other tribes were at. And soon as she's getting ready to like uncover this portal, Maui comes in, her friends come in, and they're like, hey, Moana, how did you get down here? And she's like, I got lost. I don't know, I just found it. And they're like, wow, okay, so how do we get out of here? And she's like, I think I know the way. And so she started to do like her tribal grunt, her tribal dance. And as she was doing her tribal dance, she stomped her foot. The whole smoke cleared and the whole portal lit up. And then as the portal lit up, she was like, wow, I did it. Maui and the other friends was like, wow, Moana did it. Like, okay, so the portal lights up. They're getting ready to go inside the portal. It started swirling around in a circle, in a spiral, giving a sense of old cycles ending, new cycles beginning. And before Moana jumps into the portal, she's asking this other deity. She's like, are you going to come with us? She was like, I'm bound here. I'm stuck here. And I'll be able to leave here once you guys touch that island. And she's like, I'm going to come back for you. And she's like, okay. And it gave me a sense of being in the underworld. Certain things rule the underworld. Sometimes it looks scary, but it's really here to help you, okay? Going internal and being in tune with your dark side, being in tune with that darkness, being in tune with that shadow self to empower yourself. And sometimes the way out isn't what we think it is. Sometimes you kind of have to get lost on your journey to find another way, and there's always another way. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So Moana jumps into the portal of swirls, and then it pops, boom. They're in the middle of the ocean, and Moana, Maui, they're like celebrating. They're like, yay, okay, we made it, but I don't see the ocean. And she's like, okay, ocean, we made it. She's going to talk to the ocean. The ocean is responding to her. Maui's like, yeah, your ancestors can't help you here. We have to finish the job first. And she's like, okay. And then she started to remember, okay, this isn't a visual thing. This is something that is hidden. The island is hidden. So we're just going to have to keep on trusting our instincts to find the way. And so they just keep going. And then as they're getting closer, this storm just comes out of nowhere. So it's like 7 tornadoes, so much thunder and so much lightning. And then it's like this loud voice, like, ooh, like you can tell she's like, and then her and Maui, they both look at each other like, oh, we're here. Like, we made it here. That's the direct place that we're supposed to go. And okay, well, how are we going to get there? So they're trying to get closer to it. Storms are coming to them. They're fighting the storm. It's storm after storm. Maui's transforming into every animal possible, and they're knocking away storms. But as they catch their breath and they take a break, they're like, okay, these storms aren't leaving. We're going to have to try something else and figure it out. So they split up. And as they split up, she's like, okay, we're going to go closer to the island. Maui, you go to the bottom of the island and you pull it up. And he's like, okay. So they're distracting this typhoon monster, cyclone, hurricane, storm god. And as they're distracting him, Mao is getting closer. He finally gets to the island. He hooks his bottom of his hooks on the bottom. He pulls it up, but it's stuck. It's not lifting. He gives it all that he got. It's still not lifting. As he's pulling it up, it starts to kind of lift up a little bit. Then the god starts to realize, oh man, like he's lifting up the island. No. So as he's doing that, he starts to shock Maui, and Maui's getting like electrocuted. As he's getting electrocuted, all of his tattoos are leaving. And you know his tattoos are a sense of his power. So he's like, you know what, I'm just going to have to sacrifice myself to pull this up. So he's getting electrocuted. And he eventually is unconscious. He gets electrocuted so much that he gets unconscious, and he lets go of the island that's connected, the rope that's connected to the bottom of the island. And then Moana and her friends are like, oh no, because they see him getting electrocuted. So they rush to him. And then as they're rushing to him, Moana has an epiphany. She's like, I just have to touch the island. We don't even have to rise it up. So she's like, you guys go get Maui. I'm going to go to the island. And they're like, okay. So Maui, as they're going to go get Maui to save Maui, Moana jumps into the water. She starts to swim down to the bottom of the ocean because she's like, this is the other way. You know, I have to think outside of the box. You know, it's always another way. So she's deep diving. She finally gets down to the bottom. And as soon as she gets ready to touch the island, the storm monster sends down electricity and electrocutes her. So as soon as she touched the island lights up. She gets electrocuted, and then she dies on the island. So it's this sense of like sacrificing yourself for the team, sacrificing yourself for the ancestors, and sacrificing yourself for the tribe to be a team player. And basically, as she's down there reviving the island, touching the island, because she said the curse will be broken as soon as you touch the island, and the island lights up. As the island is lighting up, they save Maui. Maui's like, where's Moana? And then they all kind of look down, and so Maui deep dives into the water. He jumps in head first. He sees her. So he swims. As he swims, he creates this bubble around her, and he holds her, and he's crying because he's like, wow, you made this huge sacrifice for us. And you did it, Moana. Like, you touched the island. You conquered everything you wanted to. You saved me. You sacrificed yourself for me. And he starts crying. He does this chant. As he's doing this chant, he's crying. All of the ancestors come, and all of the ancestors circle her and Maui, and they do like this ancestor chant, and the whole island lights up, and she is revived by the ancestors. And it was just this beautiful scene of just like bringing your ancestors back to life. And by sacrificing yourself, doing the internal work, being brave, knowing who you are. And soon as she like awakens, she's like, oh wow, all right, Maui, come on, let's lift this up. So he gets all of his strength back. He's like, all right, come on, let's try this one more time. Let's try to lift it up. And so he goes, gets his hooks his hook to the island. He pulls up the island. Moana rises up with the island, and it's just this beautiful sense of accomplishment, this beautiful sense of victory. And as she does that, Moana has this conch. She blows this horn, and as she blows this horn, she starts to get these tattoos on her arm that resemble the mountain, the star, the Aquarius symbol. And she's like, wow, like we did it. And Mal was like, you know what that means when you get that tattoo? Like, you're technically a god. This is where your strength comes from. This is where your power comes from. And she's like, wow. So they're at the bottom. And then all she hears like these horns in the background. And she's like, where are these horns coming from? She looks out to see one tribe's coming in. Another horn goes off. Another tribe's coming in. She's like, oh my goodness, I did it. You know, I united all of the tribes, and all the tribes coming together. And it's a sense of unity. It's a sense of us being stronger together than we are divided. And all the tribes come together, and she's basically on her way back home now. As she is on her way back home, Maui gets to her home first, and he's greeting everyone. And they're like, oh my goodness, what are you doing here, Maui? And he looks out into the ocean, and then it's her with 100 boats, and they're all going crazy. They're all cheering. They're all super happy. Like, you did it. You did it, Moana. United everyone. And it was just this beautiful sense of uniting and coming together. So what I took from that is always trust your spirit, always listen to the way of the ancestors, always follow yourself to continue to elevate and push through. And we are stronger together than we are divided. And also, there's most definitely going to be a number 3. Towards the end of the credits, they showed the dark entity woman, and she was like, all right, I should be free now. She's going to the storm god. And he's like, nah, this is only the beginning. This isn't the end. And then it cuts. So I'm like, wow, it's giving me a sense of this is only the beginning of the Aquarian age. And there's going to be many things to come in the future, but we are most definitely stronger together than we are divided. So yeah, it was a great movie. I cried like twice. So I suggest, if you haven't seen the movie, you guys go see it. It was really good. And yeah, you guys let me know what you guys think of this decoding review breakdown down in the comments below. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, guys.